Alright, Simon's here, back again. We are doing the 30 notes. And again, this is on polynomial functions and their zeros. Alright, so we need to list all the possible rational zeros. We're going to now talk about Descartes' rule of signs, etc. So on Descartes' rule of signs, the number of possible positive real zeros is the same as the number of sign changes for f of x, or less than that by a positive even integer, and I'll show you what that means in a minute. The number of negative real zeros is the same as the number of sign changes for f of negative x, or less than that, again, by a positive even integer. So here, in number 4, we're going to do A. I'll list all the possible rational zeros. Well, P is 2 and Q is 2. So the P over Q's are plus and minus 1. So this is 1 and 2, and this is 1 and 2. So plus and minus 1 over 1 and 2 over 1. And then plus and minus 1 over 2, and then 2 over 2. Part B, looking at this polynomial, I go from a positive to a negative. That is a sign change. I go from a negative to a positive. That's a second sign change. I go from to a positive. That's not a sign change. So there are two possible. I need to leave a space there. It's technically 2 or 0. We'll talk about that in a minute. Possible real zeros. So remember on the front, by an even integer. So no matter what we start with, we start there and subtract 2 until we can't subtract 2 anymore. They have to be positive numbers, and they cannot be negative. So 2 less 2 is 0, so it always goes down by 2. So to find the negative real zeros, we need to do f of negative x. So 2 times negative x to the third minus 5 times negative x squared plus negative x plus 2, and simplify. Negative to the third power is negative. That makes this whole term negative 2x to the third. And negative x, when I square it, is positive, but it's being multiplied by a negative 5, so that becomes negative 5x squared. Then I have a negative x and a plus 2. I go from a negative to a negative, no change. Negative to a negative, no change. Negative to a positive, that's 1 change. So I have one possible negative real zero. So number 3 says use synthetic division to test all possible zeros. I only have 6 I can try. Alright? So second power, third power, second power, first power, no power. So negative 5, 1, and 2. So let's try, I don't know, 2. Bring that straight down, we get a 2. 2 times 2 is 4. We are adding down, that gives me negative 1. 2 times negative 1 is negative 2. Add down gives me negative 1. 2 times negative 1 is negative 2. So negative 2 is a 0. What I have left here is what we call a compressed polynomial. This is 2x squared minus x minus, I wrote x, minus 1, which is probably factorable. So 2x squared here, negative 1. What are the factors of a negative 2 that add to a negative 1? This is going to be a negative 2x and a positive 1x. So the factors are going to be 2x plus 1, x minus 1, and then this guy, which should be x minus 2. The zeros are going to be the 2 that I found there. When I set this equal to 0, I get 1. If I set this equal to 0, I'm going to get negative 1/2. So use the quotient to find the remaining zeros by factoring, quadratic formula, or synthetic division. So that is the last piece. All right, here again, my P over Q, this P is 12, and my Q is 1. So all of the factors are 12 over 1. So plus or minus 1, plus or minus 2, plus or minus 3, plus or minus 4, plus or minus 6, plus or minus 12. That is a lot of zeros. Part B, is Descartes' rule of signs. I go from a positive to a negative, that's a 1 change. A negative to a negative, no change. Negative to a positive, that's a change. So I have 2 or, again it's got to go down by 2. 2 or 0, possible, positive, real zeros. Then we need to do f of negative x and simplify. So negative x to the third minus 2 times negative x squared minus 11 times negative x plus 12. Negative to the third power stays negative. Negative squared is a positive times a negative 2. Negative 11 times a negative x is a positive 11x, and I have plus 12. So a negative to a negative, no change. Negative to a positive, 1 change. Positive to a positive is no change. So then we have 1 possible negative real zero. So part C is we need to start you doing synthetic division. So again, third power, second power, first power, no power. I'm not missing any terms. 1, negative 2, negative 11, and 12. Again, you want to pick from this group of numbers to try. It's only these numbers. It would make no sense to try, say, 4 are not going to work. These are the only real numbers that will work, that can work. I'm going to try 1. So we're going to bring this one add down. Negative 1 times 1 is negative 1, add down. 1 times negative 12 is negative 12 and 0. So I have one of my zeros. So I have a 0 of 1. Again, that would give me a factor of x minus 1. Now I have this polynomial, x squared minus x minus 12. Factors of 12 that differ by 1 would be 4, which goes with the negative, and 3, which is positive. So this would finish up this polynomial. And that I get 3, negative 3, sorry. Now, again, putting the pieces together, I only have these values as zeros. There's the 1, there's the 4, there's the negative 3. Now it says I have 2 or 0 possible positive real zeros. I have 2 positive real zeros. And I have 1 possible negative 0. There's my negative 0. So all of these things kind of all go hand in hand. All right, this guy, my P is 15 and my Q is 1. So for part A, I have plus and minus. What are the factors of 15? 1, plus and minus 3, plus and minus 5, and plus and minus 15. For B, I go from a positive to a negative, that's 1 change. To a negative, that's no change. To a negative, that's no change. So I have 1 possible positive real 0. Now we're going to do f of negative x. We have negative x to the 4th minus 2 times negative x squared minus 16 times negative x minus 15. Well, negative to the fourth power is positive. Negative squared is positive times a negative 2 is negative. Negative 16 times negative x is a positive 16x minus 15. Positive to a negative, that's one change. Negative to a positive, that's two changes. Positive to a negative, that's three changes. So this means there are 3 or 1. Again, it has to go down by 2 every time until you can't go down by 2 anymore. So 3 or 1 possible negative real zeros. All right. Let's try negative 1. 1. Notice there's no third power, so we have to put in that 0, negative 2, negative 16, negative 15. This comes straight down. Multiply, add down. Multiply, add down. Multiply, add down. Multiply, add down. So negative 1 is a 0. And I have 1, negative 1, negative 1, negative 15. And now we're going to use this compressed polynomial to try to find another one. We do not want to go back to the original polynomial. And the reason being is if negative 1 is a 0 with a multiplicity of 2, you would never find it a second time unless you do it this way. So let's try 3 next. Bring that down. 3 times 1 is 3, add down. 3 times 2 is 6, add down. 3 times 5 is 15, add down. So now I found another 0. So I have negative 1 and 3, and what I have left here is x squared plus 2x plus 5. And that is not factorable. There are no factors of 5 that are going to give me a 2 for the middle. Here, you would need to do the quadratic formula to find the rest of those zeros. Now I'm going to pause the video here.